YouTube. All right, Mickey Mouse. Yes, that's the actual name, or at least the screen name. I don't think it's the little tiny Disney character. Mickey Mouse asks, "What the hell are you doing in the track hoe, bear?" To which the answer is, digging a stock tank, getting texted by patrons, running a 48,000 pound Chinese hoe. Take that to mean whatever you want it to mean. And let's see, lift the bucket. No, Mickey Mouse wanted to know, how should I go about fortifying a bug out location? Like, first steps, bug out location, what do we do? All right, so you're gonna have all your food, water, fire, shelter considerations, right? So food. All these things matter. How many people do you have? How many people are coming to your position, right? Who's gonna be there? What are you doing? What are their roles? So you guys know that I say 750 pounds of food per person per year. That's roughly 1.3 million calories per year, which is roughly what a healthy adult male needs to eat. I prepare for all people as if they are healthy adult males, because a little bit of surplus is good. And, you know, my children, my preteen children eat more food in a day than I do. So there's a consideration as well. Now, so food, right? If you're gonna have 10 people there, I'm gonna sneeze, I can feel it. If you're gonna have 10 people there, that's 7,500 pounds of food. Where are you gonna put it? You need a building, you need a shelter, you need the things, right? You need the places. So I think a good way to go about doing this is to get a pre-made shed kit. Not from Lowe's or Home Depot, according to Pastor Joe, but to get a building, get a tiny house, a building or whatever, build that out to house people, to house your supplies, put a wood stove in it, so forth and so on. So you need a shelter first, because you're going to move people, equipment, material in. All right, so get there, get your shelter going, get your food going, figure out your water. If your shelter has a hard roof, then, which would be good, meaning, you know, it's not a tent or a tarp shelter or whatever, then you can hang a gutter on one side of it and put a water collection system, some totes going down in the hole. Here we go, don't want to fall. Nice and easy, there we go. So that way you can collect water off the roof, which is good, because that's probably going to be, you know, your shortest pathway to a decent amount of water. Wells are awesome, wells are expensive, and wells, typically speaking, require some kind of pump to get the water out of the ground. You can get a hand well, but how deep is your well, right? So you want your water, and if you can do the rainwater collection, do the rainwater collection. Getting into position, there we go. Spin it around and shazam. Here we are. All right, now we can operate. Do you even operate, bro? Yeah, track hose, backhoes, bobcats, dozers. So get your roof up on your structure that you need to put your people and your food in anyway, and then start collecting water off of it. You should have provisions at your place as if you could show up naked. Now, that's everything. That's clothing, that's food, that's water, but that's also equipment. You know, hardware, black scary rifles and chest rigs and plate carriers and all that stuff. Bug out locations are kind of tricky, man, because they're going to be resource intensive. Time, money, labor, right? And so if you don't live there, and I do believe it's a sound school of thought to say that you can't logically live at your bug out location, right? Because you can't bug out from where you are to where you are. So I agree with that. This needs to turn. There we go. Stay put. I agree with that. I wonder if the sound quality on this is terrible. It might be terrible. Stuff happens. chemtrail loogies. So you want to have provision there. Cots are good. You know, where are you going to sleep? What are you going to eat? What are you going to drink? How are you going to cook? Right? How are you going to heat the place? So a wood stove that you can also cook on is a real good idea. And it doesn't have to be one of those fancy wood-fired kitchen stoves, although those things are cool. But there's a lot of wood stoves that you can cook on regardless of, you know, you just put a cast iron skillet on the thing or in the thing and you can cook in it. But that's a skill set that you need to get on top of now. What else we got in our notes? Fuel. Firewood, right? If you're burning wood for heat and for cooking, do you have fuel? How much wood is stocked up? Do you have a wood shed where you can put this fuel? Is firewood even viable where your bug out location is? You know, around here, I'm in North Texas right now. There's trees, but there's not a whole hell of a lot of trees. Where I'm at in Oklahoma, there's almost too many trees. Firewood's not a problem there. Where I'm at in Oklahoma, a cord of wood costs $100. You know, here in North Texas, a cord of wood's $350, supply and demand. So there's not a lot of firewood here. So maybe you need to look at other options. But some kind of fuel to heat the place and cook is going to be recommended. Look at access, egress. You do not want just one way in and out, okay? You need to have, hypothetically speaking, a side door that you can squirt out of if something bad happens. If the man shows up, right? You need to have a way to go that's not the driveway full of pickup trucks with rowdy neighbors sitting in it who are unhappy about you being there, right? So access, egress. Perimeter fencing is really good, but perimeter fencing is going to serve more of an agricultural application than a security application, because fencing is easy to cut, easy to bypass, and if you have a large piece of land, it's going to be days, weeks, if ever, before you realize that somebody's cut your fence and come on the property. That's an issue, but that doesn't mean you don't have it. It's just probably not an immediate priority unless you're trying to contain livestock. And livestock at a bug out location, unless you have all the monies, is probably not going to happen, because most people just can't afford to have a caretaker of livestock there. You know, and that gets into the concept of what are you going to do when you get there? How long are you going to be there for, right? So living in, not necessarily in community, meaning that you guys are all on the same piece of land, but having a bunch of neighbors that y'all all get along with, that if something happens at your house, you can go next door or up the road or whatever, and having some stuff at your place, you know, your neighbor has some stuff at your place, you have some stuff at their place, you guys can, you know, cover each other, basically, because sooner or later, just having buckets of food, even that's going to fail you. Ultimately, you need to get back to a production aspect. You need to be able to produce food, right? Which is going to be vegetables, grains, and proteins. How are you going to do that, right? Unless you're showing up with a cattle full of, you know, bred heifers and a bull, or a trailer full of bred heifers and a bull, right? Or whatever, a whole bunch of fertilized chicken eggs and some broody hens, or like the logistics of that get really weird over the long term. So the bug out location, if it's going to be anything more than a stopover or a short period of time, you know, weeks, maybe a few months, the production aspect is going to get you, which again, community to the rescue. If I like you and you like me, we're both like-minded, and I'm doing the things at my place and you're doing the things at your place, you know, we can cover each other. If something happens at your place, you can come here. Something happens at my place, I'm going there. And we both have sheep and chickens and food storage and row crops and greenhouses and wells and water collection and so forth and so on. But you need to have food, you need to have shelter. Shelter's probably the first thing I would say, because you can haul water in, you can haul food in to establish the place. Oh, that's a good big rock. That is a big rock. Come on, sweetheart. There we go. That rock there would not fit in the bed of an F-350. That's a good rock. All right, anyway, distracted. So you can haul stuff in to start with, but where are you gonna put it, right? Hard-sided structure for the wind. So get that going, then start moving stuff in. Get your water collection going, get your food storage in there, and then get your buddy kits or your redundancy kits, meaning that you or your friends or anybody can show up naked and there's something there for them to operate with, okay? You know, ideally everybody's showing up with their kit, their, you know, rucksack rifle and their 45, but if in the case that doesn't happen, there's some provision there. So let's see what else we got. We talked about access, egress, perimeters, pathways. Have good pathways so you can move about your property. Cots, talk about that. Cooking, sanitation. Where's everybody gonna poop, bro? What are you gonna do to wash your hands? 5-gallon buckets, peat moss, and septic safe TP goes a long way. Having some sawdust, you add some sawdust to that in a pile away from where you're living, and now you have a humanure situation going on, which a lot of people poo-poo at. See what I did there? But think about it. That's compost. After a short while, you will have compost. And if you're doing anything remotely agricultural, that compost is going to be a good thing. You're going to want that. So, the sanitation aspect, but also, you know, not just stocking your paper goods and your feminine hygiene products and your hand sanitizer and your soap and all of that, which you should, but where are you going to use it? How? Right? What's the protocol? So develop that out. Medical is obvious. You should have medical there. Anybody who has a medical condition, ideally they're bringing their like medications with them. Like my mom, I was just talking with my mom last night. My mom has been making huge strides in the areas of preparedness, which is awesome. My mom is medically dependent, and up until recently she only had a month's worth of her medication. Without it, it would not go well for her. So she told me last night, through concerted effort and sheer force of will, she now has a year's worth of her medication. Is it ideal? No, but it's a hell of a lot better than a month. So anybody you have that has situations like that, you want to have that, you know, stocked on site, but also on their person. If you're going there by yourself or with a small team, also that's going to be a different scenario than a whole bunch of people. But everything plays, man. You need heat, you need shelter, you need a way to cook your food, you need food to cook, you need a place to poop, you need a way to wash your hands, you need, you know, a way to stay warm, you need a way to feed the wood stove. It's all the things. I guess it really just falls down to prioritization. So again, I'd start with a hard-sided structure first, start moving the food and the water and the cots in and doing all of that, right, so that it's there. And then I'd look at, okay, get a wood stove brought in if you can. If not a wood stove, something else. Maybe it's propane heat and a two-burner propane stove or whatever, you know, like a camp cook stove, and store a bunch of bottles there. Well, what do I do after the bottles run out? That's the next order of operation. But for right now, do that. Don't get paralyzed by phase 3 when you haven't even started on phase 1, okay? So do the next right thing. Get your heat, get that going. It's the same as like moving into a house. The only thing is you don't have the house yet, all right? You gotta move into the house. All right, so have a place to move to. Okay, but turn on the utilities. What utilities? Well, we don't have any water. Good, figure it out. Well water, water collection, are we hauling water in? What are we doing? Okay, get that figured out. What about electricity? I I think that it would do everybody well to have a small, decentralized photovoltaic array, solar panels. They're not very cost effective, but what they do is give you some modicum of independence from the broken system. So if you're doing it on a sheer dollars to dollars cost, you know, looking at the ROI of how do I generate a profit with a small solar array, the answer is you don't. But you do have electricity when you need it, if you need it, to recharge things or operate your CPAP machine or your oxygen condenser or your whatever, right? And electricity helps, man. Like it just helps. I would much rather use an electric drill than a brace and bit, but I need a way to charge the batteries on the electric drill, right? Well, that's electricity. So look at that, right? Get in there, establish your place to live, turn the utilities on. What utilities? Make them. Figure that out. Oh yes, that's another big rock. Come on. Come on. You're mine. This one's about 9 feet long. Yes. Yes. Shazam. Got it. You're mine. Digging in soft shale, soft gray shale, and white rock as well, which is, there's different strata of rock here as well. There's about 4 to 5 foot of good black dirt, which is incredible for North Texas, but this area was agricultural for a long time before it got developed. And then there's a strata, there's a layer of white rock, then there's a layer of gray shale, and then there's another layer of white rock. And then underneath all that, there's another layer of gray shale. And so I dug over there, I dug down as deep as I wanted, and there's water in the hole, which I want because water always finds level. And so as I dig around on this stock tank, this stock pond that we're making, it's about 1 acre in size, I'll continuously dig all the way around so that the water flows in a circle all the way around. There's a little island in the middle as well. So that means more or less I'm roughly level all the way around because water finds its own level. So anyway, yeah, get rumbly. It's all about finding seams and ripping them. And I'm into a seam right here, which is good. So man, that's what you do. Like it's like moving in, right? No place to move in, make a place to move in. Flip the utilities on. Okay, good, get the utilities on. Hey mom, there's nothing to eat in the pantry. Oh, that's right, we don't have any food or water here. Do those things. Mom, there's no toilet paper. Okay, where are we gonna poop? So what's your op order? First, house. Second, utilities, maybe. Or maybe it's food, right? Maybe second is food. Third is utilities. You know, somewhere in there is sanitation. Somewhere in there is heat and the logistics of all of that. And then, okay, well, we got this place. We got to get the security system hooked up. Well, what's the security system? See, you and your buddies, right? And your rifles and your training and all that. So, step one, building, right? Everything else just kind of falls into place from there. That's what I would do. And I'd also like just really look at, if you're going to be there for any period of time, how do you transition from consumer to producer on that property? Are you going to go from, you know, sooner or later you're going to be out of buckets of food. So what are you going to do to counteract that? How are you going to grow food on property? Or, you know, you could, depending on where you're at, you know, if you're out in the middle of nowhere in the woods, man, plant a food forest. Do some perennial food plots. And so that way, you know, they tend themselves more or less. We oftentimes do a disservice to the way the Father designed things by getting involved in the beauty of how plants reproduce and bear fruit, right? So it doesn't always have to be super intensive. So you could examine some permaculture techniques to get some passive food supply going on property while you're not even there, right? Food forests again, fruit trees, nut trees, perennial gardens, so forth and so on. So I don't know if this was any help to you. I bet you the sound quality is horrendous, but we'll see. That's kind of my thoughts on that. So thank you, Mickey Mouse. I've been a big fan of yours ever since your Steamboat Willie days. You're tremendous. I've enjoyed every time that I've been at one of your parks. It's been wonderful, and I'm quite happy that you are into preparedness now. What I would love for you to do with all that Disney money you have is become one of my clients at Prosperity, and we can move forward from there, because all I need is just a few billion, okay? Just a few billion. And so it'll be tremendous, believe me. Shalom.